As a drag queen, I have been drinking Jack Daniels for a very long time. So much so that they called me up and said, hey girl, why don't you just come down to our distillery and you can like save the middleman on the bartenders. So I got some free samples of Jack Daniels and I'm happy to do it. I am Manila Luzon, famous Filipina drag queen. Yes! We're trying to celebrate Pride. We are trying to have a good old time. We are trying to collide big city drag queens with some small town distillery folk who are supplying a lot of fun and whiskey to the whole world. You have 3 worldwide famous drag queens. You know, we are going to a small town, but they have big hearts and we're excited to get to know each other and to share in our experiences together and celebrate being proud of who we are and where we come from. I've worked with all of the queens before, club gigs, filming some TV shows and stuff like that. It's been a while since I've gotten to work with Phoebe, so it was a fun reunion. She lives in Minnesota, that's where I'm actually from, so we have that connection, and I've been following her and seeing her perform since she was on Drag Race the first season, so it was great to actually like come together and do this little project with her. And then Trinity was there. She beat me in All Stars, and we've actually worked together several times since. We've become really close friends because of being able to compete together. I know as a fact that like growing up, I didn't have that many Asian American, specifically Asian American role models in media to really look up to. Like it was very few and far between. And so I'm extremely honored that, you know, I get to go and represent my side of the story, my character. And it's not a character that was written by some white guy as like, oh, Asian character. I get to be myself and I get to show off like who I am just as a person. I'm honored that like me just being myself is inspiring a lot of other Asian Americans, gay Asian Americans also, to just stand up and just be proud of who they are and hopefully they see something in themselves through what I'm doing. And still even on the show, and still even on Drag Race, there's like usually just one token Asian. So I was actually really surprised when I went to my first season of Drag Race and there was another Asian. It was Raja. She was Indonesian. So it was really nice to see that there was 2 of us represented in that season. I know that a lot of LGBT Asian Americans do struggle because, you know, we grow up and we've been raised by our Asian parents, and sometimes they could be very strict, sometimes they can be very religious, sometimes they can have ideas of what they want us to be. Sometimes it's very difficult for an older generation to be so quick to jump on board with new things. So we have to be patient with the people that came before us and kind of laid the foundation for us to be ourselves. And so sometimes it takes a little bit of time to, you know, get your parents on board, but they will eventually because what they really want is the best for us. And that's what I want for the next generations, you know? Which is crazy because now I'm thinking like, oh gosh, am I gonna be one of those like old people one day that's gonna be like, oh my gosh, I can't deal with this change. Hopefully not. But I'm an old like 90-year-old Asian drag queen. I don't really think about it that often, but I'm told a lot that I'm influencing a lot of Asian Americans to start doing drag. I mean, come on. If you can like look like this, why wouldn't you want to give it a try too, baby? I actually just read in an interview that Bretman Rock, the famous YouTuber, social media influencer, he wrote in an article that seeing me when he was still young and in high school was a big deal for him because he finally saw someone that kind of looked like him and kind of was like, oh. And then it inspired him to be like, I could just be myself and people find that interesting. And now look at him, he's so successful and so huge and I'm so proud. And I'm honored that I'm able to spark that inspiration in people watching. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited by the movement of drag. When I started doing drag, there was only a few things I could be influenced by, and now because it's more popular and more people are trying things or getting inspired, especially thanks to RuPaul's Drag Race and other shows like this, I think that the drag community is really getting its time to shine in the spotlight, which has once been like an underground scene, is now part of pop culture, and we are influencing media, we're influencing fashion, and it's really exciting to see the amount of work and energy we're putting into drag, seeing it all kind of become accepted around the world. I'm excited to be inspired by the next generation of drag queens. I don't know, it's exciting to think of how far it can go. And free Jack Daniels. For me at least, not for you. You still have to pay.